When PSG destroyed Inter 5-0 in the Champions League final last season, I think it left a lot of people thinking, first of all, this PSG team is unbelievable, but maybe we got robbed of the real final. Maybe the real final last season would have been PSG versus Barcelona, the two best sides footballing-wise on the planet. And you know what? I don't disagree. But I think today, even despite both sides missing numerous key players, probably showed us that even if that final got played last season, the same outcome would have happened. PSG lifting the trophy. Now, 5-0 is another story. But I think PSG showed tonight that in a final between the two sides last year, they would have still reigned supreme. And I get it. Look, tonight was not the perfect encapsulation of PSG. It wasn't the perfect encapsulation of Barcelona. Barca tonight were missing Rafinha. They were missing Balde, of course, as well, too. They were missing John Garcia. They were missing big players, no doubt about it, right? And PSG were missing real big players. I think out of the two sides, they were probably the ones missing more important players. Their whole front line last season in the Champions League final was absent in Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and Doué. They were missing João Neves. They were missing their captain, Marquinhos. It was a heavily hamstrung PSG team. But tonight showed me that if we're going to make any sweeping statements from today's game going into the rest of the Champions League, PSG are still the team to beat. Whereas Barcelona have pretty big question marks from a defensive point of view still lingering over their head from that tie against Inter last season. Now, I think Barca are a really, really good side with some of the best players in the world. I think they're unbelievable when they're fully clicking. But today, I think the biggest reason they lost that game was from a tactical point of view. I think Luis Enrique schooled Hansi Flick today. Quite simply, I think that's the worst game I've watched Barcelona play under Flick since he got appointed. I genuinely believe that. Now, look, there was the game against Inter, the second leg. That was horrifying towards the end, right? Based on conceding that many goals, especially over two legs. But I still think Barca played their game in that tie. It's just that with this Barca system, there's such a big trade-off in terms of how much control and how many attacks you generate compared to how many chances you also concede. But Barca still played their game from an attacking point of view last season against Inter. This game, Barcelona, especially in that second half, could not sustain possession or attacks whatsoever. Barcelona, the best attacking team on the planet today, were nullified by PSG. And I give all the credit in the world to Luis Enrique, because he did a lot of things today that I thought were really, really important. Now, the first thing he did was almost defend Frenkie and Pedri man-to-man. The press on those two was so ridiculous in terms of every time they got the ball, someone was on them. That was loud. Sorry if I hurt your ears there. Because I did that right next to the mic. But wow, the press on those two, as aggressive as it was man-to-man, was startling to see because you don't see many teams go up against Barcelona that way. But I think Enrique will have noticed and recognized the importance that both those players have to Barcelona in terms of sustaining possession. Because let's be real, guys. Barca concede chances every game. Every game, these guys concede 2 to 3 goal-scoring opportunities. But they live on the edge and they live with that fear because they know they're most of the time going to have most of the ball, and also they're going to create more than the other team. So they really bank on these games being, you score 3, we'll score 4. You score 4, we'll score 5. And to do that, you have to have a lot of the ball to do it, right? Especially in terms of if your defense is going to be so open on counterattacks, the best way to defend that in their eyes is having the ball. Don't let the other team have it. But Enrique has recognized that and said, okay, how do we make sure Barcelona have less of the ball? Take away their two best possessors of the ball, in Pedri and Frenkie de Jong. And that's exactly what they did today. Their press on those two was ridiculous. They didn't have a chance to breathe. And even though Pedri, to be honest, his absence was definitely felt when he left the pitch, his departure from the pitch also, I don't want to say it was understood, but there was a reason for it. He couldn't get his best game off today. And I think a big part of it was Luis Enrique's press, especially with Yamal in the second half as well, too. Within 5 minutes, well, I say 5 minutes, within 1 minute, Yamal did this one thing on the right-hand side, right? Where he ripped apart 3 players. One of them was Mendes, and then sent through Ferran Torres. Ferran almost scores, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this could be another vintage Yamal game. And in the first half in particular, I thought he was remarkable. He sent Ferran through a number of times. He was unstoppable against Mendes. He looked like he was going to put together another vintage Yamal game. But in the second half, let's be real, guys, Yamal faded. Now, I think a big part of that is the fact that he's only coming back from injury recently. But I also think that a big reason for him fading out is also the way Enrique almost shifted the defensive scheme against him. I really do believe that. And towards the end of the game, guys, Yamal couldn't even get on it. Seriously, he could not get the ball. They made this such a physical matchup against Barcelona today, and Barcelona just could not stack up to them. PSG are one of the best teams in possession in the game. So is Barcelona. But the difference between both of them today as well, too, aside from the tactical point of view, is the physical point of view. PSG's defenders and their midfield were so aggressive and so physical to an extent that Barcelona just couldn't cope with them. So look, man, I really fear to think what could have happened if Dembele is available today. What could have happened if Kvara was available, Doué, Joao Neves. It was only 2-1. It should have been more today. Honestly, they got a goal in the last minute through Goncalo Ramos, which I originally thought was offside. They gave it to him, but it was deserved regardless. That could have been more than 2-1 today. And I am concerned a little bit for Barcelona because it just felt too easy. And I think this is the real worry with Hansi Flick, right? And he's a brilliant manager. He's one of my favorite managers in the game because of his footballing philosophy. He wants to excite. He wants to score goals. He wants to attack. He wants to be the protagonist. That's all great. But you have to also have a hint of pragmatism to you. And especially in a game, like, look, Hansi Flick, is football, I almost call it a catch-22. Because the reason why they press so high is so that they can win the ball high up and suffocate you and have maximum control and generate chance after chance after chance. But the pushback against that is how high your team is and then the threat of counterattacks in the back. But it's a switch off that you make, even though that fear, that risk always exists. However, and I'm going to bring this back to this Bayern stint, to play this way, you have to have really, really good attackers, which Barcelona do and which Bayern do, and you have to make sure that you have a lot of the ball. And you have to also have profiles that can defend in that style. At Barcelona's best and at Bayern's best, they have those, right? Bayern at their best, they had Boateng and Alaba. They had Manuel Neuer, who's the perfect sweeper keeper. They had a physical midfield. It's perfect. Barcelona last season, I thought Inigo was so good at leading the line, or at holding the line, Koundé, Balde in particular with his transition defending. It was perfect. And John Garcia, when he's there as well too, is the perfect insurance policy back there. But when you're missing key players, you have to make adjustments. If John Garcia is not there, you know that is a threat that Wojciech Szczesny will not be able to deal with as well as John Garcia does. If Balde is not there, then you know Gerard Martin is a huge downgrade on him. We know this, right? Same with Eric Garcia. Garcia is much better on the ball than Araujo, which is why he plays over him sometimes. But the physical switch is also dramatic. It's drastic. So with all this being said, there has to be some kind of trade-off from Hansi Flick here. Now we look at the attack as well too. Again, if you have Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Yamal up front, then you can bet on your team scoring more than the opposition. Those odds are in your favor heavy. But now when Lewandowski's off the pitch and Rafinha's off the pitch, and you're still trying to play this gung-ho style where you score 4, we score 5. Well, that works with Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Yamal. But I'm sorry, are you confident you're going to outscore PSG? A, with your defense, but B, when you're playing Ferran up front, when you're playing Dani Olmo in the 10. Another thing today, why did he take Rashford off as early as he did? Or why not Ferran? I thought today Ferran, despite his goal, it was the worst attacker today along with Olmo. I'm very perplexed as to why he played as much as he did. And Rashford, who looked like Barcelona's most dangerous attacker in that second half, was the one to be substituted. I can't understand that for the life of me. It was very similar to Unai Emery last season against PSG, coincidentally enough, taking off Rashford when he was his biggest threat. But I just think there has to be a trade-off from Hansi Flick in these kinds of games. Last season against Inter, you didn't have to go as gung-ho as you did against that Inter side. You were a better team than them. You were. Inter were on their knees towards the end of the season. And you made it a basketball game against a team you didn't have to do it against. And now against PSG, you have to have some respect for your opposition here. You have to. Again, there's no Dembele, there's no... but still, Barcola is an incredible threat in transition. I know his final touch was poor today, but guys, this guy's still ridiculously tough to defend, and he made a mockery of whatever fullback he was up against today. The other two Parisian kids, I really like them, Mayulu and Mbaye. I've seen them numerous times now for PSG, whether it's in the League, Club World Cup, the Champions League final. These kids can play. I thought they were really, really strong today. Honestly, super impressed by PSG's academy and the players that they continue producing. And those two in particular did a really good job of softening the blow, missing out on Dembele and Kvara. But those three, while they are not the same threat as Dembele, Kvara, and Doué, still caused Barcelona massive issues. And the goal that they concede at the end is just prime Hansi Flick defending. Barcelona concede that chance 6 times a game. They bank on the fact that they don't concede it because they got a damn superhero in goal with John Garcia. But when he's not there, you're going to get punished. You're going to get punished. And today, the chickens came home to roost for Barcelona. Honestly, it's what was coming. And I'm sorry, I think a lot of the blame has to go on Hansi Flick. I think he's been unreal as manager for Barcelona in so far. But today, I think you look at him versus Enrique, there is no doubt about it who came out on top of this game. I thought Enrique coached a masterclass, particularly in that second half. That second half from PSG was so comfortable. So comfortable. Honestly, we're looking at this Barca team. That's another thing with Barca today, right? Again, the trade-off for them is we attack very aggressively, we leave space behind. But today, Barcelona, it's not even like they created a lot of chances. In the first half, they created a lot, definitely, right? Ferran rounded the keeper and Only a last-minute clearance from, I think, Zabarni stopped him from scoring. Rashford. There were chances in the first half, but in the second half, bar that sequence where it was cleared off the line from Hakimi, Barcelona really couldn't get it going offensively today. And how many times can you realistically say that under Flick? So today, not only was the defense exposed, the midfield couldn't get it going, and the attack was completely nullified. This was a masterclass from Luis Enrique, and I think he deserves so much credit on his return to his former club. He did such a good job on Hansi Flick today. And look, this PSG team, man, it's a machine. It's an absolute machine. It almost doesn't matter, it feels like, whoever comes out. Someone else will just come in, and they know their role to the T. Look at today who comes in. Zabarni, I thought was... Look, I think there were moments where he definitely got caught out. Rashford did him a few times in the channels. But overall, I was actually pretty impressive, Zabarni. I think he did a decent job. The front three I've already spoken about. I think Barcola, his final touch really needs to improve because he's such a dangerous player. This guy can really kill his defender. But the final touch is consistently letting him down. And I think once he kind of gets himself almost calmed down a little bit, 1v1 against the goalkeeper, this is going to be a guy that I think PSG will have a tough time holding on to, because clearly he struggles to start week in, week out with the original three. But if this guy can consistently be scoring the chances he creates for himself, wow, PSG have a phenomenal player on their bench, which is ridiculous to say. But I thought all three of them were really, really good. Again, they don't start in most games, but to come into a game of this status and play the way they did, full marks to all of them. Zaire Emery I thought was decent today, but again, the midfield, it just clicks without them. And for me, the man of the match, Nuno Mendes. Seriously, I know he got skinned by Yamal in the first minute or two, but let's be real, Yamal is going to do that to anybody. And I think Mendes has shown in the last 24 months, he has defended Yamal better than anybody on the planet, and that came in that Nations League game. Now, today, look, it was a battle between the two of them. To be honest with you, I think Mendes gets a little lucky not to be sent off today. I think he scythes down Yamal while he's already on a yellow, and he probably should have gotten red carded. But if we look past that and just look at his performance with the ball at his feet, or defending against it as well too, just look at his footballing performance, not the red card. Wow. What a player. His run for the first PSG goal was just vintage Mendes. And I'm going to say, I think I said this last season, I'm going to say it again, guys. First and foremost, this PSG fullback pairing is one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Hakimi and Mendes are amongst the best pairings I've ever seen in my life. You're talking about Carvajal and Marcelo. You're talking about Alba and Alves. You're talking about Trent and Robertson. This is up there, guys. Seriously. Defensively, in possession, offensively, in the final third, creating chances, scoring goals, playing in different areas of the pitch, shutting down your favorite winger. They can do everything. And I think Nuno Mendes, I really hope he doesn't suffer any injuries, because if he maintains this trajectory that he's on and continues on the path he is, I think Nuno Mendes will finish his career as one of the greatest left backs we have ever seen. I seriously believe that. Because, guys, there's nothing in his game that he's missing. Most of the great left backs, right, when you think about them, they might have a flaw in their arsenal, right? Ashley Cole, probably the best out-and-out defender at left back I've ever seen in my life. But let's be real, going forward, he was not Marcelo. He wasn't, right? He was good going forward, but he wasn't like standout for me. I'm going to be honest, right? Ashley Cole, one of the greats ever, but objectively, he was much better defensively than he was going forward. Now, on the flip side, Marcelo, one of the best attacking fullbacks in my life, technically better than some attackers, the most crucial creative player in that Real Madrid team at times, honestly, occupying that entire flank on his own to allow Cristiano Ronaldo to play up front, but also defensively could be got at. You could hurt Marcelo. I've seen numerous players do it. Maybe underrated defensively, some would say, but let's be real, not stand out defensively. I look at Nuno Mendes and I don't see a flaw. Honestly, I don't see a physical flaw. He's an exceptional athlete. He's strong as an ox. He's quick as hell. And technically, he's got a brilliant left foot. He can whip in a ball. He can finish off chances. And he can dribble past the best of them. This guy's an incredible defender fundamentally. He's very, very intelligent as well too. Honestly, I'm struggling to see a real flaw in Nuno Mendes. He's unbelievable. He is unbelievable. The form he's shown over the last 8 to 9 months is up there, seriously, guys, with any left back I've seen. Sometimes we get caught up in like nostalgia bias or recency bias, right? But I think also we have to admit what we're watching at times. This is one of the best guys we've seen, Nuno Mendes. He's outstanding. And Hakimi on the other end is ridiculous as well too. And the way the two of them play in this team, I honestly think they might be the most important players to this PSG side. And bar maybe Dembele because of the role that he does in drifting, in dropping deep, drifting wide, playmaking. But the two fullbacks for PSG are so crucial to every phase of the game. I often describe Luis Enrique's system as a living organism because I haven't seen many teams that rotate during the game from position to position, area to area, zone to zone, as often as their players do. On any given moment, you will see Vitinha at left back, midfield, right midfield, up front. Like, you'll see him anywhere. João Neves, Fabian Ruiz, Dembele is the perfect example. But I don't think that's demonstrated more so than the work that Hakimi and Mendes do. Seriously, their heat maps, if you look at them, are an absolute joke. They're everywhere. They are everywhere. Honestly, I'm so impressed by the two of them. But I think PSG have just, for me, shown today that they're the team to beat. And that's not to say they're going to win the Champions League, because as we know, repeating the Champions League is virtually impossible. We've only seen Real Madrid do it in the modern era. So that's not to say PSG will win the Champions League this season, but they are the team to beat. They are still the side that I think are the standard in Europe at the moment. Everybody is looking at PSG and trying to get as good as them. And that's due to, A, how unselfish everyone is in that team, how well everyone knows their rules, the quality they still have, of course, as well, too. But I think on top of that, Luis Enrique, man, these guys have a damn good football coach. They're a damn good football team managed by a damn good football coach. And I think today that was on full display. And as for Barcelona, I think the lesson today is it's still a work in progress. And I think Hansi Flick has to go back to the drawing board today. He needs to eat a slice of humble pie after today's game, go back to the drawing board and recognize, look, no one's saying that he needs to completely shift 180 his tactics. He's got a winning recipe here. But I think today is just another example of holes being exposed in his team that he can patch a little bit better, right? Every team has holes in their system, has holes in their team. But the manager's job is to mitigate those flaws and maximize the strengths. Hansi Flick definitely maximizes the strengths, like as well as you can. But I think he's got to do a better job this season at protecting his team a little more defensively. Because guys, you can get away with it down 2-0 to Levante, losing to Oviedo. You can get away against these teams. But against PSG, against Real Madrid this season, I know last year they had a lot of success, but this year, guys, you play that way against Mbappe. Guys, oh my goodness, you are in trouble. You are in trouble the way Mbappe is playing this year. You already scored a hat-trick against them last year. You're in trouble playing that kind of line against Mbappe, against Haaland. Guys, Barcelona will suffer in these Champions League games, the big games, when opposition can hurt them the way they do. So I think Hansi Flick, look, Barcelona have an amazing team. They're one of the favorites for me to win this competition. But to get over the line and make sure the mistakes of last season are not caused again, I think a lot of it falls at the feet of Hansi Flick. I think so. Great game. Otherwise, I think the first half was really, really entertaining. In the second half, I think PSG really just took a hold of that game and showed Barcelona who's boss, who's the champions. But honestly, I really hope we see these two sides match up again later in the competition when PSG have their full squad, when Barcelona have their full squad. And hopefully Hansi Flick and Luis Enrique can really give us a good matchup for the ages, because I still maintain that I think these are the two best footballing teams on the planet in terms of how they play football. Now, there's other teams that maybe can get results, like Arsenal, the way they get results, right? Or Real Madrid. But in terms of just who plays the nicest, the most attractive brand of football on the planet, it's definitely these two sides. And I would love to see them meet later in this competition, maybe just in different circumstances. But guys, let me know what you thought about the game today. Who stood out for you? Who disappointed you today? And yeah, let me know down below. Like, share, subscribe. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. We can only do it with your guys' help. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.